folks are trickling on after the, yes, I can see your screen great. I can hear you great. It looks like we have folks joining us. Thank you so much for hopping on. Y'all get to hear about the super inspiring work of Valley Improvement Projects. Just give folks maybe another second here. If folks can just tell us where you're tuning in from in the chat, that'd be awesome. ¿Dónde están? Let us know. Arkansas, Colorado. All right. Yes. ¿Y hay alguien que ocupe interpretación al español? South Carolina represented. All right. I see some more folks trickling on. Hola, Rodrigo. Welcome. Hi, Adriana. From my home in California, Bianca as well. Data and Adho, love it. All right, well, I think we might have hit critical mass here, so why don't we go ahead and dive right in so y'all get to hear from Bianca. If anybody needs, si alguien ocupa interpretación al español, por favor ponga algo en el chat y... Oh, Rodrigo nos puso que sí. Ok, bueno, pues gracias, Rodrigo. So Bianca va a tratar de hacer su mejor trabajo de hacerlo en bilingüe. So Bianca is going to try to move into bilingual as much as possible. Y si tiene preguntas, Rodrigo, por favor, lo pone en el chat, porfa. All right, well, why don't we go ahead and dive right in. Hello, everybody. My name is Melissa Aguayo, she, hers, ella pronouns, and I'm the U.S. Regional Coordinator for Break Free from Plastic. Y muy emocionada, so excited to be here with you today. I have the great honor of introducing Bianca with Valley Improvement Projects, which is an amazing grassroots organization made up of local community members dedicated to bringing justice and equity to the most disadvantaged communities of our area. Valley Improvement Projects does amazing work in Stanislaus County and the Central Valley, and doing work on climate justice, zero waste, and reuse and refill, all kinds of amazing stuff. I'll let them share more. So I'll kick it over to Bianca Lopez, who is the co-founder and project director of Valley Improvement Projects. So ahorita lo voy a pasar a Bianca Lopez, que es la cofundadora y directora de proyectos para Valley Improvement Projects. Y por favor, si tienen preguntas, if y'all have any questions, please throw them in the chat and I'll be moderating for questions. So voy a estar viendo preguntas para dárselas a Bianca, pasárselas a Bianca, so por favor ahí lo ponen en el chat. And without further ado, kicking it over to Bianca.
Awesome. Thank you. Muchas gracias. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. My name is Bianca. And as mentioned, I am co-founder and project director of Valley Improvement Projects. Soy la cofundadora de Valley Improvement Projects. Se traduce como proyectos de mejoramiento del valle. Y primeramente les voy a pedir disculpas porque yo soy bilingüe, pero más pocha que nada. Fui nacida en México. Me trajeron aquí de chiquita y hablo Spanglish más que nada cuando hablo español. So I just want to apologize to begin with. I am bilingual, but I mostly speak Spanglish, and I think I will be doing my best to keep the kids away from here. I have two little ones here in the house. Diles hola. Hola. I need you guys to go over to with Dada, okay? Pero ahora les voy a presentar un poquito. Okay, just give me 1 second.
Y así lo hacemos, gente, with our family in the works. It's one of the things I actually love about Valley Improvement Projects. Una de las cosas que me encanta de Valley Improvement es que siempre se siente la familia. So please, back to you, Bianca.
Así es cuando trabajamos en casa, right? Like when we're working from home, we do our best to keep them busy and to be able to keep doing our work. And so my husband and I, who's also, my husband, Tom, is also part of our organization and a co-founder. and we have to trade hours, but we are doing our best. And so ahorita les voy a presentar un poquito sobre uno de los proyectos que hacemos. One of our projects is anti-incineration and moving towards zero waste with a just transition. Nosotros promovemos no estamos de acuerdo con cuando se quema la basura, los incineradores o invertidores. Y aquí en California tenemos dos de de esas compañías donde queman la basura y la convierten en energía. So here in California, we have two waste incinerators. One is in Long Beach and the other one is in Stanislaus County, where we are. And so this report that came out in November was in collaboration with Earth Justice and East Yards and Valley Improvement Projects to be able to tell the story about the false solutions of incineration and to give people a perspective of where our communities are coming from. So, nosotros damos esta presentación de parte de un reporte que salió en colaboración con East Yards y Earth Justice. Estas dos organizaciones también son para la comunidad y tienen proyectos que varían para la justicia ambiental y contra el racismo del ambiente o ambiental. Les voy a pasar un poquito sobre lo que tiene este reporte y cómo es que nos informa a nuestros proyectos para poder cerrar estos dos incineradores y para poder avanzar con un programa y un plan de no residuos. Y justo. So here's a little bit about those organizations, and I can give you a little bit more in links. Let's go to El Reporte. This was released in November, so the report is fairly new, and we've been doing a lot of advocacy with the report here in Stanislaus County and in Long Beach. So el reporte ahorita nos ha ayudado a abogar para esas situaciones que estamos promoviendo en nuestras comunidades de justicia ambiental. So disadvantaged communities are overburdened here in Stanislaus and in Long Beach. We have, on top of the incinerators, we have transportation of goods through these semi-trucks. We have the port, we have pesticides, warehouses, highways, and then we have the economic and the socioeconomic burdens of low-income communities. And here in Stanislaus, it is predominantly Latino. So, en las dos comunidades se les dicen comunidades desfavorecidas. Estamos sobrecargadas con, pues con mucho de lo que está sucediendo en nuestras comunidades, tomando en cuenta la situación ambiental y la situación socioeconómica. En Long Beach y en Stanislaus tenemos, aparte de los invertidores y los incineradores, tenemos los puertos, tenemos transporte de materiales, tenemos los freeways, tenemos pesticidas. So, hay muchas cosas que nos afectan en nuestras comunidades, aparte de los incineradores y lo que causan los incineradores en nuestro ambiente y en nuestros cuerpos, en nuestra salud. So there's a lot of basic information about incinerators, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the greenwashing of it. First of all, it's not clean energy, right? So no matter how advanced they are, inevitably, they release numerous pollutants that contaminate the air, the water, soil, and harm public health. Hay muchas cosas que se dicen buenas de estos incineradores, pero son falsas. Esas son soluciones falsas. Los incineradores, sin importar cuán o qué tan avanzados sean, inevitablemente liberan numerosos contaminantes que contaminan el aire, el agua y el suelo, la tierra, y dañan a la salud pública. So estos incineradores dicen que son limpios porque eliminan la basura de los landfills, no sé cómo se dice landfills, en la tierra donde llevamos toda nuestra basura. Pero aún ellos también requieren el uso de esos lugares porque echan las sobras de lo que queman. So incinerators are not very energy efficient. They burn waste to create energy, but it's very little energy that they create. And then they claim that they keep waste from the landfills, but they still rely on landfills because they still have to they still use the landfills to get rid of their ash, which is very toxic as well. According to EPA's enforcement database, Covanta Stanislaus has a high priority violation of its air permit requirements for the last 4 quarters. In addition, the facility exceeded emission limits for nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, and carbon monoxide in March of 2020, and exceeded nitrogen oxide and carbon monoxide emission limits again in 2020. They here in Covanta, they claim that, well, EPA allows us to emit so much toxin and we don't ever over emit. Well, into 2020 they did, and even though it may be a small amount over or a large amount over, it is still not a clean practice. So a lot of the times, all these facts are or these claims that they make are a type of greenwashing. Cuando nosotros hablamos sobre estas prácticas de quemar nuestra basura, según ellos dicen que tienen el límite, tienen cierto límite que se les deja contaminar nuestro aire, pero a veces sí emiten más de lo que es permitido y a veces no exceden ese aumento. Pero en 2020, ellos superaron el óxido de nitrógeno y los límites de emisión de monóxido y carbono nuevamente en agosto del año 2020, el año pasado. So when these incinerators and companies and greenwashing practices like this are in our community for over 30 years, I think it's time that people or that agencies like Cal EPA and the California Air Resources really acknowledge the cumulative impacts of burning waste in our communities for over 30 years. It's very outdated. It's a greenwashing solution. It's a false solution to where we need to be going. So, esos son reclamos falsos que hacen a estas compañías que dicen que son buenos para nuestras comunidades, pero cuando emiten estas cosas en nuestro aire, en el agua, nos dañan, y por más de 30 años. Esta compañía de Stanislaus, que se llama Covanta, ha estado en nuestra comunidad por más de 30 años. Y pues son soluciones falsas. No amount of toxin or no small amount of toxin is a healthy amount when we talk about the cumulative impacts. So I just want to make that clear. Ninguna pequeña cantidad de toxinas en nuestra comunidad es una cantidad saludable, porque tenemos que tener en consideración las otras aspectos que nos dañan a nuestro aire, nuestra agua y nuestra salud. So, el reporte también toma en cuenta, pues, cuál es el estado de manejo de residuos en California. The report also goes into waste management in California, and it does that so that we can see the contradictions in state practices, state law, and local practices, right? So in California, there was a total of 77.5 million tons of waste generated, but only 37 of it was actually recycled. I'm sorry, only 28.9 million tons were recycled, which is a rate of 37% down from a 50% peak in 2014. And I think it shows that we're actually going in the wrong direction. Aquí esta foto incluye información, los datos de que 77.5 millones de basura fue generado en el año 2019, pero solo 37% de esta basura se recicló. y fue un poquito mucho más bajo que en el año 2014, cuando habíamos reciclado el 50%. Entonces, esta información nos indica que vamos empeorando en vez de mejorando. California has a couple of legislations that is supposed to gear towards a 75% goal for organic waste diversion. Ahorita tenemos unos biles, una legislación, leyes que según nos van a ayudar a avanzar a alcanzar nuestra meta de 75% para el desvío de desechos orgánicos. But we can't just ship our waste to South Asia or other countries. They don't want it anymore. And why would we be okay with that? If I'm not standing up for their rights, then I'm saying it's okay, right? So I think we need to do a better job at taking care of our waste, so that we can make sure that other people don't have to deal with that. Primeramente, quiero pues decir que no es justo que nosotros continuemos a crear basura y estar bien con mandar esa basura a los extranjeros, exportar la basura al extranjero de materiales reciclables, principalmente al sudeste asiático. Ellos ya no quieren nuestra basura, ¿y por qué vamos a estar bien con eso? ¿Por qué vamos a dejar que le manden basura o cosas que se pueden reciclar a nuestros hermanos? Eso no está bien y debemos de parar eso. So one of the ways that California thinks that we will be able to reach this goal is SB 1383. Here in California, it passed in 2016 and it just became enacted in 2022. So as of January 1st, we're supposed to divert our green waste away from landfills. And it's supposed to be reached at 75% rate by 2025. So este bill del Senado, una ley del Senado de 1383, nos dice que vamos a poder alcanzar nuestra meta de desviar el 75% de los desechos orgánicos a partir de 2025. Porque no lo cumplimos ya en el año 2020, no alcanzamos esa meta que teníamos entonces. So now in Stanislaus County, thanks to SB 1383, we have a third bin. We have a green waste bin. We have a waste bin, trash that's not recyclable or compostable, and then we have a recycling bin. So it's great because we used to here in Modesto only have 2 of those bins. Now it looks like we're moving towards a better way to sort through our waste so that it doesn't go to the landfill, and to keep things from actually being burned that don't need to be burned, that can actually be recycled or reused or put back into the land. So, gracias a esta ley, nosotros ya tenemos aquí en Stanislaus, en Modesto, tenemos 3 basureros, 3 botes para la basura, unos para los reciclajes, los residuos que son orgánicos, y otros son reciclajes como plásticos y metales, y luego tenemos el tercer bote que es para la basura que no se puede reciclar. So, with having surf in Long Beach and Covanta and Stanislaus, and actually Covanta still is the operator of the surf in the incinerator in Long Beach. It's the same company. They are incompatible with our zero waste future as California has laid out through all of these laws. And I think that's really key. So when we burn our waste, it makes us have the need to create something new, and then extract, consume, burn, and then again start that cycle: new, extract, consume, and burn. So it doesn't actually help us with the mission that has been laid out with these laws and policies that are they don't match the practice. And so it creates a situation where governments can't fully commit to the implementation of these zero waste because they're contractually obligated to continue to feed the incinerators. So nosotros decimos que si vamos a quemar la basura, disculpe por no traducirle este slide, nosotros cuando quemamos nuestra basura o los desechos que se pueden reciclar, como las cosas orgánicas, se crea un sistema que no podemos salir de ese problema. Nosotros compramos cosas nuevas, extraemos los materiales, consumimos más y luego las quemamos cuando ya no las queremos y empezamos otra vez ese mismo ciclo, y entonces eso no nos ayuda a poder avanzar a un futuro sin residuos y un futuro que puede promover nuestra práctica de tener no residuos en nuestras comunidades. Is there any questions in the chat? I hope I'm not going too fast for you guys. Ojalá no esté rellenos sanitarios. Estoy leyendo sus comentarios. Voy a tomar un poquito de break del reporte para ver si es algo que necesito tomar en cuenta. Gracias por corregir mis términos. Les digo que soy bilingüe, pero más pocha que nada. So, this is just explaining that currently, our goals don't match our practices. We can't continue to feed incinerators while also working towards redirecting waste to composting, reusing, and recycling facilities. It just doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make money either. Perdón, ya les cambié la información. Esto simplemente dice que las metas que tenemos aquí en California para poder alcanzar el 75% del desvío de los residuos orgánicos no es compatible, no es compatible, no da razón a una cosa a la otra. No podemos estar diciendo que vamos a tener estas metas y al mismo tiempo quemar nuestra basura cuando se supone que deberíamos estar dirigiendo nuestra basura o esos residuos para hacer composta, a reusar los materiales y reciclar. Entonces lo que queremos nosotros en nuestra comunidad es crear un futuro sin residuos. Y les voy a explicar un poquito qué quiere decir eso. So with all of that information, we want to be able to move towards a zero waste plan here locally and statewide, right? And then in other states. Everybody that is here is representing different states in our country, and we should do better because we can do better. And this is what better looks like when we talk about our waste. And it actually encompasses a lot of other things that it affects. So what is a zero waste plan? There are many different types of explanations, but the gist is that we should end waste disposal in incinerators and landfills because we know that does not work. Require producers to take responsibility for the entire life cycle of their products. And then third, we must develop systems to ensure that the maximum amount of resources are recovered for reusing, recycling, and composting with a just transition in mind, right? So right now, if we burn our waste or if we don't properly dispose of it, when we talk about shutting down those incinerators, we need to make sure that people who work in that area can transition out of that into a greener job, a better paying job. We should also be taking consideration all of the other jobs that can be created because we are actually taking care of our waste properly, so it actually will create more jobs. Yes, thank you, Melissa. You mentioned in the chat, a lot of plastic is now getting exported to other Latin America countries as well. So let's move towards zero waste so that we can take care of our waste, our problems, instead of just sending it overseas. So es muy importante que nosotros consideremos este método de conservar y cómo manejamos nuestra basura o nuestros residuos a través de un plan sin residuos. No quiere decir que no vamos a tener residuos completamente al 100%, ¿verdad? Porque hay cosas que se tienen que hacer que de plástico, que como en los hospitales, ¿verdad? Y eso no se puede reciclar. Pero no queremos decir que es 100% sin residuos. Pero para empezar tenemos que eliminar el uso de residuos o de mandar los residuos a los incineradores o vertedores. Tenemos que exigir que las compañías que hacen productos sean responsables de todo el ciclo de su vida de sus productos que ellos hacen. Y terceramente, desarrollar sistemas para garantizar que se recupere la máxima cantidad de recursos para su reutilización, reciclaje y compostaje. Do we have problems with pests that are attracted to the green bins? It's a new problem that we would have in our county. In Modesto, we do not. The bins are closed, and at the moment, well, before January 22, we were throwing only green waste in there. So no meat, no dairy would go in there. And I'm still waiting for our county to let us know what we do with that. But no, our green waste is pretty healthy. And locally, we take care of our green waste. We make compost here in Modesto. Había una pregunta que si tenemos problemas con nuestra basurero del bote verde donde se reciclan los materiales orgánicos, si tenemos problemas con animales. Y ahorita al momento no tenemos ese problema porque el bote se usa simplemente para las cosas materiales verdes. No se usa para la carne, ni el pollo, ni cosas de productos de leche. There are lots of resources out there that will help explain what a zero waste can look like, what some things that you can do at home, what cities can do to create a roadmap to zero waste. Now I'm going to share a couple of links with you here today. So this kind of just talks about circular economy, where we can make sure that we are being considerate of all the systems in place instead of just having this linear practice of creating something new, extracting, consuming, burning, and then creating something new. It really talks about a just transition. Ese slide era simplemente para explicar lo que ya había dicho, que tenemos que considerar un sistema circular donde se puede tomar en cuenta el sistema completo en vez de usar y regenerar, de usar, quemar, crear, extraer y todo eso. So, en Long Beach, ellos ya están... van a cerrar su compañía de la incineradora ahí, y ellos ya crearon un espacio con su comunidad para ver cómo se puede ver este espacio, qué vamos a hacer con ese espacio cuando ya no vamos a quemar la basura, cómo vamos a tomar en cuenta nuestros residuos y cómo les gustaría que se vea esta comunidad. So in Long Beach, the incinerator run by Covanta has already said that they are no longer going to be running as of 2024, which is a big win. But I don't know what the city wants to do after 2024. And so Long Beach created with other organizations a space for community members to come together to reimagine what a zero waste community would look like. And they came up with all sorts of fun ways and things to do to promote repairing, recycling, giving people what they don't need but is still usable for other folks. And so those are our next steps, is reimagining what that can look like in our community. So with all the data and information that was shared in the report, it's really technical. So I didn't go through all of the technical stuff about the incinerators, just the main idea, right? It's a false solution. It's polluting our communities, and we're fed up. And we need to do something better with our waste because we know we can. We just need to do a little better. And how we do a little better is by making sure that we, in California, ban incineration and kill the diversion credits. So at the moment, cities, municipalities can get diversion credits by diverting their waste to from the landfill. And so burning it right now is one of those legit ways that they can do that. Queremos que prohíba el Estado la incineración y eliminar los créditos del desvío, porque ahorita las ciudades y los condados pueden agarrar créditos por desviar la basura de los invertidores.
Vertederos.
Invertederos, gracias. No, se me va a olvidar la palabra también, so disculpe. Locally, we want to be able to close the incinerators as soon as their contract expires. In Stanislaus County, our contract ends with Covanta in 2027, in June of 2027. And so we are asking our city and our county to say, no more, ya basta. As of 2027, we are no longer going to burn our waste. And so creating that plan to transition from a zero waste practice needs to start now. And that's what we're promoting here locally. Nosotros ahorita estamos abogando que ya cierren los incineradores y que ya no hagan contrato con ellos. Aparte de aquí en Stanislaus, el contrato termina en junio del año 2027 y esperamos que consideren que ya no vamos a quemar nuestra basura y ahorita es el momento para implementar un plan para poder transicionar a las prácticas de desperdicios mínimos. And so planning for a future zero waste at a local level is really important for us because we know that date is coming. Es muy importante para nosotros aquí en Stanislaus porque ya sabemos que esta es una gran oportunidad de decir ya basta, ya no vamos a quemar nuestra basura. Y pues also we must invest in a zero waste future. At the moment, SB 1383, as I mentioned earlier, it does not come with funding. So a lot of the cities have had to restructure how they collect waste, curbside pickup, and those costs are coming onto us. And so think of all of the burdens that I shared with you in our communities. On top of all of that, we now have to pay for our waste to get picked up a lot more. I believe 40% increase in our rate for waste pickup started in January of 2022. Ahorita por la ley de SB 1383 que les expliqué hace ratito, gracias a ellos tenemos otro bote para poder reciclar, pero aparte de las otras cosas que tenemos que considerar del ambiente y nuestra salud, nos están cobrando el 40% más de lo que pagábamos para que recoge nuestra basura, porque el estado que implementó esa ley no dio dinero a las ciudades ni a los condados para poder avanzar con este plan. Entonces nosotros pedimos que el estado dé dinero a estas ciudades y a los condados para poder mover a este plan de cero residuos. And then locally, we want to make sure that they access funds and create and enact funding mechanisms to provide long-term support for zero waste. And we know that a zero waste future, a plan done right, can actually make money, create green jobs. So here's a link if you actually want to read the full report. If you don't want to read the full report, you can see a short summary on the website as well. And then there are toolkits. There's lots of toolkits, but I think for this, and maybe I can follow up with Mariana or the Green Latinos team with some more links, tools. This is the anti-incineration organizing toolkit. I think that's what it's called. It's a toolkit. Community Tools for Anti-Incineration by Gaia. And then Gaia also has a zerowasteworld.org is their website. Gaia has a zero waste map. So there's a very thorough explanation of what a city can do and what policies and practices look like on the ground for them. And then there's another toolkit that talks about like we as organizers, what can we do to advance our anti-incineration goals? So that's pretty much the report. But I'm excited to hear from you guys. I was trying to think of, we already, I don't know if my age, I'm 39, I just turned 39. But my mom would always talk about in Mexico how, and I got to see it actually sometimes, where the lechero would come and bring leche in a glass container, right? Like we had these practices. It was doable. My mom used to be like, oh, that those pants or that skirt didn't fit me anymore. So I made a purse out of it. Or, the hand-me-downs. My grandma had 18 kids. So they each wore each other's clothes as they passed it along. So there are ways and things that we are used to as a cultural practice that we just need to tap into again. So I feel like, well, let me translate that. Estoy muy emocionada de estas oportunidades que nos trae el final de estos contratos con estas compañías, porque nosotros sabemos de nuestros abuelitos y nuestros papás que en México venía el lechero y nos traía la leche en botellas de vidrio. Mi mamá me decía cosas de que, o me contaba cuando su ropa ya no le quedaba, hacía bolsas o convertía los pantalones en una falda. Y pues nosotros tenemos que acordarnos un poquito de lo que era antes, porque así era en los tiempos de antes y no hace mucho. Tenemos que recordarnos y tenemos que aprender de nuestro pasado para poder ir al futuro con cero residuos. So, things like that. If you have any stories of how your family used to or currently does, I would love to hear those stories, because that's how we help our community reimagine what this could look like. It's a little scary, right? What do you mean I can't just go buy new stuff? It's actually, I don't know if you notice, but things that we buy are actually made even cheaper. So it's made to break. So we have to buy more, and that has to stop. Any questions? I know I probably talked a lot. I said a lot, and I tried my best to translate. Thank you, Melissa, for sharing those links. Those are really great resources. That's actually where we're going next. We're going to create a space and alliances for folks in our community who are interested in learning and diving into these toolkits to be able to advocate with our city and county officials to move towards zero waste. I see a couple of questions. Are you doing any cultural education to remind folks about zero waste routes? Yeah, we definitely talk about that when we share about our report, or when we're talking about zero waste. It's just really easy to talk about it when we mention, well, what do you currently do? And then stories come out like, oh, you know what? That mole cup, so there's this... Doña Maria, I think, is the company of Mexican mole. It comes in a glass, and they know that we reuse this. And then actually, if you take the label off of the mole, it actually has a really cool symbol that, is just cooler to keep instead of having a glass, empty glass. I have one that has it looks like the loteria little card, but it's actually a luchador. So my kids love using that glass. And I want to buy more, but I don't need more mole. I've been making my own mole. But yeah, I think it's definitely part of the conversation when we talk about ways and things that we can do right now without waiting for companies to do better. So, la pregunta fue si hablamos cosas culturales de este tema de cómo reciclamos o cómo podemos reusar los materiales, y expliqué que es muy fácil, especialmente cuando tenemos el ejemplo como ese bote de mole de Doña María, que nos ayuda que sentirnos un poquito mejor de retener ese vaso o ese vidrio como vaso. Cuando le quitamos la etiqueta, enseña una imagen bonito como el luchador, ¿verdad? Y ahora mis niños se pelean para usarlo. So, en vez de tirarlo, lo estamos usando como para vaso. My parents in El Salvador say the same about how things used to be. Yes, exactly, because it's so easy. My dad said growing up, he didn't experience a lot of plastic. That's also true. It just wasn't the thing. It wasn't in. So we as consumers need to make sure that we stop telling these companies that we're okay with all this plastic. We just got to stop buying it. And I know sometimes it's hard. We don't have a choice, especially like when you go to the grocery store and the apples are in a plastic bag and then they're wrapped in plastic to label them. That's just too much. Dice nuestra compañera aquí que en El Salvador, oh, I lost the comment. Glenda dice que en El Salvador su papá siempre decía cómo las cosas eran antes y que su experiencia no era con mucho plástico. Y es muy importante de tomar eso en cuenta porque sabemos que nosotros como consumidores que tenemos el dinero para comprar los productos, digamos, ya basta y no comprar eso, no invertir nuestro dinero en plástico para que las compañías vean que eso no es lo que necesitamos, no es lo que nosotros queremos, no es como queremos gastar nuestro dinero. The mole glasses are awesome. The skull one, I want one. I know, I just gotta buy more mole, I think. I like making my own mole though. One of the biggest challenges is to convince members in our communities to stop buying bottled beverages, which are usually not much cleaner than what's coming out of the faucet. Yes. So helping people learn about the myths of all of that helps, because a lot of people just assume that they think it's better or that it's easier when in fact it isn't. But then also we need to make sure that there are more like fountains out in the community, right? So that we don't have to keep bringing our plastic disposable water bottles. Es muy importante, muy difícil convencer a nuestra comunidad, dice Karen, porque de que no compren las botellas desechables de plástico de agua, cuando también sabemos que la agua que se embotelló a veces no es mucho mejor que la botella del agua que sale en nuestro lavabo. Y es importante acordar y informar a la comunidad que pues esos mitos y pues echarle ganas y que convencerlos de que eso no es una práctica buena y que no nos conviene a nosotros. I remember growing up and there was one bolsa para el pan. Yeah, we reuse the same one, right? I think it's very it's already part of our culture. It's in our DNA. We don't want to waste our money. We don't want to waste the material, but then we need to start making sure that we are not reusing or that we're not buying it, so that we know that these companies understand that that's not what we want. I love these stories. I love visiting my abuelita in Mexico and getting sent to pick up the fresh tortillas a few blocks away. She would send me with a cloth to bring them back. Yeah, right? Like, who wants their tortillas in a bag? ¿Quién quiere sus tortillas en una bolsa de plástico cuando nos mandaban a recoger las tortillas hechas a mano, right? Like, that's another thing. Like, when we're talking about waste, right? Like, we need to make sure that products that we consume are good for us. And so when we buy these tortillas in a plastic bag, not only is the tortilla like nasty, I don't know about you guys, but I don't like the Guerrero or any of those. I have to go to the store that hand makes their maíz and the nixtamal and, from scratch kind of. But it's just not available like it used to be. And we need to make these companies realize that it needs to be that way, because that's what we want. In Mexico, and I don't know if this is still true, but when we would buy soda, it would also be in a glass container, and then you would have to go and return the glass to be able to buy another one. And if you didn't, then it cost you more money to get, a brand new bottle. En México no sé si todavía es esta práctica, pero para poder comprar una soda en una botella de vidrio teníamos que traer la botella vacía para poder agarrar uno nuevo. No sé si sea igual. I remember growing up and there was one bolsa para el pan. I read that. Handmade is always better. Yeah. So explicaba que pues todo lo más natural es mejor para nuestra salud y es mejor para el ambiente, y hay que deshacernos de esa basura. Es basura. El plástico a veces ni se puede reciclar. Some of this plastic isn't even recyclable. I don't even know the stats, but a very low percent of, and I should know it, low, Melissa, I know you know, a low percentage of the plastic is actually recycled. So just because it has a recycling symbol, it does not mean it's getting recycled.
Yeah, it's like looking at across the globe, or like across everything, less than 9% of everything that has ever been collected has actually gotten recycled, and what has actually gotten recycled is even lower than that. And me encanta, I love it. Me encanta cuando llegamos a esta parte de the conversation. I love getting to this part of the conversation, because as soon as we start talking about zero waste practices, en cuanto empezamos a hablar de zero waste practices, todos salen con las historias. There's so many stories. So I think Bianca's point of like, it's in our DNA, like lo tenemos en la sangre. We didn't have to call it zero waste. We didn't have to call it conservation. Like, we just do those things. Hacemos esas cosas. So it's a little bit of that, like reclaiming that, right? Of like, sabemos cómo conservar nuestro país. Like, we know how to do this. Like, our communities are being impacted, but we have the solutions as well. So I love the work that VIP is doing. Like, tenemos las soluciones, las comunidades tienen las soluciones. So me encanta el trabajo que está haciendo VIP, porque están realmente sacando ese wisdom, esa sabiduría from las comunidades, getting those solutions from the community, and really lifting them up and amplifying them and connecting them to the legislators and companies and the folks who need to hear the message. Pero siempre, this part always warms my heart, porque tenemos tantas historias. We have so many stories of like ways that we're connected, that we're doing this work in a way that's culturally relevant to us.
Yeah, and I was trying to think of when you see, or I used to think that it was a bougie thing, or like a white people thing. I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little racist here, but a bougie thing to walk around with a reusable water bottle, or to shop at refillable stations, right? Like to go to what's one of those stores, Sprouts or Trader Joe's, where instead of buying a bag of rice, you can bring your own reusable bag and fill your bag and, pay by the weight. I thought that was bougie for some reason. But it is a privilege to be able to know that is a good practice. It is a privilege to buy more expensive, like organic, or even, it seems like it's more expensive to buy reusable material, but in the long run, we save money. And so I felt really bad when I realized that, like, no, I have the right to take care of our environment in that way too. It is not bougie. It is everybody's responsibility. And if I can, then I will, right? But a lot of people don't see the advantage of doing that. And I think even it's promoted to our families and to our people that, that's not what we do. To try to get us to live a different lifestyle. Yo antes pensaba que era cosas de gabachos o de los ricos, que cuando veía que traían una botella de agua que se reusa, ¿verdad? Y lo rellenaban después. Y también pensaba que ir a las tiendas esas, pues que sí son caras, ¿verdad? Y sí es un privilegio poder ir a comprar en estas tiendas que venden comida orgánica, donde en vez de comprar una bolsa de frijol, en estas tiendas usted trae su bolsa que se reusa y puede llenar su bolsa con el frijol suelto, como lo hacían en México actualmente. Así se hace, o se hacía, no sé si aún se hace, no he ido a México en 4 años. Pero a mí se me hacía cosa muy privilegia que yo a lo mejor no tenía, pero realicé que yo tengo el poder y yo tengo el derecho de poder tomar esas cosas en cuenta, y que pues era mi responsabilidad de actuar así, y no era cosa de los ricos, sino que debería de ser accesible para todos. Yes, our organization contact is mostly through email, but our email is Valley Improvement Projects at gmail.com. Our website isn't the best website because it isn't very updated, but it's the same. It's valleyimprovementprojects.org. It's pretty outdated, but it actually, our mission statement and the outline and description of what we advocate for is still on point. So it might not be updated. We do have a climate youth group who is working on learning more about waste and plastic use on campus. We're educating the community through social media about environmental justice and what that actually means, because even our communities, our Latino communities, our Mexican communities here, and well, I'm Mexican, so my community here doesn't know the term environmental racism or environmental justice. So we have to break it down a little bit by showing them and giving them the examples, right? So like, oh, well, actually, the 80% of the incinerators in the United States are in low-income communities, and that's not an accident. That's on purpose. And so and that's environmental racism, right? So we have to really like lay it out for folks, spell it out, show them pictures, take them to these toxic tours that East Yards does in the Long Beach, LA, Southern California area, so that they can actually see what environmental racism is and what it looks like and what it feels like, because we already know what that smell is. But we don't know how to pinpoint it and call it environmental racism, right? Es muy importante, nosotros ahorita tenemos un grupo de jovencitos que están aprendiendo sobre la basura, los reciclajes o el uso de plástico en las escuelas, pero también están aprendiendo sobre los conceptos de racismo ambiental o la justicia ambiental. ¿Qué significa eso? Porque muchas de nuestras comunidades no saben esos términos, pero saben lo que es. Y hay veces tenemos que tomar esos pasos para poder darles más ejemplos de lo que es. Por ejemplo, 80% de estos incineradores son localizados en comunidades de gente de color. Y eso no es por accidente, es al propósito. Y eso se llama racismo ambiental. Entonces, cuando les damos estos términos a la comunidad, se lo tenemos que explicar, les tenemos que enseñar, los tenemos que llevar a ver ese olor que nosotros olemos aquí en la comunidad. No es natural, es por causa de lo que está sucediendo en nuestras comunidades. So it's a lot of the things that we're doing are related because social and environmental justice, in our eyes, are inseparable. We can't do one without the other. And when you talk about one, you have to talk about the other. En nuestro trabajo, la justicia ambiental y la justicia social son inseparables. No podemos hablar de uno sin hablar y mencionar el otro, porque sabemos que uno causa al otro o el otro afecta al otro. Entonces es muy importante en nuestro trabajo de hacer los dos juntos y no separados, y poder tener la variedad de proyectos que tenemos de calidad de aire. También los incineradores afectan la calidad de agua. Los incineradores también afectan la calidad de vida, que también afectan. So, todo está conectado y tratamos de conectar cada proyecto que tenemos con el otro. ¿Qué quiere decir? Si queremos cerrar este incinerador, pues, ¿qué quiere decir para nuestro aire? ¿Qué quiere decir para nuestra agua? Right? So, like when we do our work and any projects that we have, we do our air quality projects, we have zero waste practices, we have climate change projects, we have electric vehicle projects and infrastructure, but we have to make sure that we connect all of these projects because they all affect and they're all interrelated. So I think I'm just really excited that we're being able to piece these things together. In Modesto, we're currently going through the comprehensive general plan, and the general plan is a roadmap to the next 20 years of how the city is going to run. So we're at the table and reminding them that this roadmap must be including a zero waste map in this plan for the next 20 years. So no, you cannot plan housing, and no, you cannot plan land use, and no, you cannot plan access to public facilities without considering a zero waste plan, right? Like, so when we're at the table, we're talking about all of these things at the same time. You have to take into consideration infrastructure for electric vehicles. You have to hold these polluting companies accountable. And part of the general plan, there's SB 1000, which is the disadvantaged communities portion of the general plan that says that you must take into consideration environmental justice. And it's very thorough. It says you must address the polluters, and you have to have a plan to reduce pollution. So we're talking about Covanta, and we're talking about zero waste, and we're talking about everything else that we do. So it's really important for folks to be aware of what's happening at your city level, at your county level. And you need to make the connections, connect the dots, because they're all interconnected and they all affect each other. I don't know what else to say.
I think we've reached the end of our session, Bianca.
Good.
Thank you. Yo creo ya llegamos aquí, ya acabamos. Muchísimas gracias a todos that joined us. Thank you to everyone who joined us. I always learn so much, and I'm always so inspired by y'all's work. So, mil gracias por todos sus esfuerzos and for sharing here with us. A la gente, por favor, connect with VIP, follow VIP so you can learn more. I les puso el email on the website, so por favor se conectan con Bianca or con Thomas or the rest of the amazing team. And looking forward to
please share anything
continuing this work
projects you have, things that you're doing in your community. Share with us, because we want to be able to use you as an example too. Like, oh, you know what Colorado's doing, oh, you know what they're doing in New York, and it's going to help us do better here too. So muchas gracias a todos por asistir, y me daría mucho gusto si se comunican con nosotros y pues nos dan ejemplos de lo que ustedes están haciendo para poder empoderarnos nosotros con lo que ustedes están haciendo. Muchas gracias por dejarme darle esta presentación.
Gracias a todos. Gracias. Bianca.